All right, let's try this again. Let's see if we get people on here. See if this one works. All right, hi Maite. Can you guys hear me this time? Hello, hello. It works. Good deal. All right, good to see everybody jumping back on here. I'm really sorry. It's frustrating me. I had headphones in, I tried taking them out, and that just messed everything up. So, guess I know not to do that anymore. Hi, Abby. All right, we'll wait till we get more people on here. So it's telling me I only have 2 people on here, but I think I have more. So if you're able to get back on, go ahead and let me know who's all here. I see Abby, Maite, Hannah, Joa. Good. Yeah, it's telling me I have 2 people here, which maybe I do. Wait a little bit more to let people get back on. I'm frustrated. Sorry about this. All right, I will put the question back in the chat for you guys to have. Hi, Addison. Good to see you. All right. All right, I'm gonna wait just a little bit longer to let people who weren't on there get back on, or who were on the last one get back on. All right. All right. Let's keep going. We'll try and get as much done as we can in the next few minutes. Thank you for your patience. I apologize again. This is the fun of technology, I guess. So here we go. Miss Phillips started out every morning by playing her favorite CD. I hated it. Old MacDonald had a farm. Hi, Angel. Glad you're able to get back on. Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, The Itsy Bitsy Spider, all sung by children who could not sing. The type of music grown ups think it's all kinds of cute, but it's awful. Miss Phillips put it on at full volume every single morning, over and over and over. No wonder we were always in a bad mood. Once she had the Tin Pan Band on, Miss Phillips went over to the alphabet every single day with third graders. Now, children, this is the letter A. How many of you can say A? Good. She'd smile and say good, even if nobody in the class responded. I wondered if she would teach able bodied third graders the same way. Probably not. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Now let's move on to B. This is the letter B. Let's all say B. Good. Again to silence. She didn't seem to care. I glanced with longing at the books on the tape and the earphones, which had been shoved into a corner. One day I guess I had enough. Miss Billups had expanded from saying the letters to making the sound of each one. Buh, she said loudly, spitting a little as she did. Buh is the letter B. Let's all say buh together, children. Then Maria, who was always in a good mood, started throwing crayons. Willie began to babble, and I bellowed. I may not be able to make clear sounds, but I can make a lot of noise. I screamed because I hated stuff that was just plain stupid. I screeched because I couldn't talk and tell her to shut up. And that made me cry because I'd never be able to tell anybody what I was really thinking. So I screamed and yelled and shrieked. I cried like a 2-year-old. I would not stop. Then my tornado explosion took over. I flailed and jerked and basically spazzed out. I kicked so hard that my shoes popped out of the foot straps on my chair. That made me tilt to one side. I screamed even louder. Miss Billups didn't know what to do. She tried to calm me down, but I didn't want to be calmed. Even the aides couldn't stop me. Jill and Maria started to cry. Even Ashley, dressed all in yellow that day, looked upset. Freddie spun around in his chair in circles, glancing sideways at me fearfully. Carl hollered for lunch. Then he pooped his pants again. The whole class was out of control, and I just kept screeching. The teacher called Miss Anthony, the principal, whose eyes got wide as she opened the door. She took one look at the situation and said tearfully, "Call her mother." She could not have left more quickly. A moment later, the teacher had my mother on the phone. "Miss Brooks, this is Melody's teacher, Anasia Billups. Can you come to school right away?" I knew my mother had to be worried. Was I sick, bleeding, dead? "No, she's not ill. She's fine, we think," Miss Billups was saying in her most professional sounded teacher voice. "We just can't get her to stop screaming. She's got the whole class in an uproar." I could picture my mother on the other end of the line trying to figure out what was going on. Luckily, it was her day off. I knew she'd be there in a few minutes, so I gradually calmed down and finally shut up. The other kids quieted down as well, like somebody had clicked the off switch. Old MacDonald continued to play. My mother arrived faster than I thought possible. When I saw her jeans and dirty sweatshirt, I realized she dropped everything and just jumped in the car. She ran over to me and asked me what was wrong. I took a few deep, shuddering breaths, and then I pointed to the alphabet on my board and screeched some sounds of frustration. "This is about the alphabet?" my mother asked. "Yes," I pointed, then pounded on the answer. She turned to Miss Billups. "What were you working on before screaming started?" Miss Billups replied, in that superior tone that teachers dressed in nice red business suits use when they're talking to mothers with dirty shirts on. "We're reviewing the alphabet, of course. The sound of the letter B, if I recall. I always start with the basics. These children need constant review because they don't retain information like the rest of us." My mother was getting the picture. "So you were going over the ABCs. Correct. It's February. I beg your pardon? School started in August. You haven't got past the letter B in 6 months?" Mom was bawling and unballing her fist. I've never seen my mother hit anything, but when I see her do that, I always wonder if she might. "Who are you going to tell me how to run my class?" the teacher said angrily. "And who are you to bore these children with mindless activities?" my mother snapped back. "How dare you?" the teacher gasped. "I dare anything for my daughter," Mom replied, her voice dangerous, "and for the rest of these children." "You don't understand," the teacher began. Mom interrupted her. "No, Mrs. Billups, it is you that doesn't understand." Mom looked like she was trying to calm herself down because then she said, "Look, have you ever said to yourself, if they show that stupid commercial on TV one more time, I think I'll just scream?" Miss Billups nodded slowly. "Or if I have to sit 5 more minutes on this traffic jam, I'll simply explode?" "Yes, I suppose," she admitted. "Well, I think that's what's happening to Melody." She said to herself, "If I have to go over these letters one more time, I'll just scream." So she did. I really don't blame her. Do you? Miss Billups looked from my mother to me. "I guess not, now that you explain it that way," Miss Billups finally said, her voice now as calm as my mother's. "Melody knows her alphabet, all the sounds of the letters, and hundreds of words on sight. She can add and subtract numbers in her head. We discussed all of this last parent conference, didn't we?" I could tell my mother was trying to control her temper. "I thought you were exaggerating," the teacher said. "Parents are not always realistic when it comes to their children. If you call them 'these children' one more time, I might scream," my mother warned. "But Melody does have mental and physical limitations," Miss Billups argued, trying to put Mom in her place. "I guess you have to learn to accept that." and the fire was back. Melody can't walk. Melody can't talk, but she is extremely intelligent, and you better learn how to accept that, Mom spat out. The teacher backed up an inch or two. Didn't you read her records from last year? Mom demanded. Melody loves listening to the books on tape. I try to approach each child with an open mind and not be influenced by other teachers. All the records are in a box someplace. Maybe you should find that box, my mother said, her lips tight. Well, I never, Miss Billups countered. Maybe that's your problem, Mom replied with a grin. Then she tilted her head and turned towards the CD player. Oh, one more thing. May I see that wonderful CD you're playing? Of course, Miss Billups said, smiling a little. The children love this. Do they? Mom asked. The teacher lifted the disc from the player. Twinkle, twinkle, silence. Willie laughed out loud. Mom took the CD, dug down in her purse for a moment, gave Miss Billups a $5 bill, and deftly snapped the disc in half. That music was cruel and unusual punishment. Freddie and Maria cheered. Gloria whispered, Thank you. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for Mrs. Billups. She looked so confused, and she just didn't get it. Mom walked over to the sink in our room, turned on the warm water, and soaked a stack of paper towels under the faucet. She came back to me and gently wiped my face with the warm, soggy wad. Nothing ever felt so soothing. Then she brushed my hair, adjusted the straps and buckles on my chair, and gave me a quick hug, and went home. Miss Billups quit her job after spring break, so we ended up with a series of subs till the end of the year. I think she had to figure it would be easy to work with people who were dumber than she was. She was wrong. Chapter 8. For as long as it was just me, my mom and dad, and my goldfish, Ollie. Let me read that again. For a long time, it was just me, my mom, and dad, and my goldfish, Ollie. So this is where I would start paying attention to that question on how Melody and Ollie are alike. Okay? I was just 5 years old when I got him, and I had him for almost 2 years before he died. I guess that's old for a goldfish. Nobody knew Ollie's name but me, but that's okay. Ollie had been a prize from a carnival Dad had taken me to, and I think Ollie's life was worse than mine. He lived in a small bowl on the table in my room. The bottom of the bowl was covered with tiny pink rocks, and a fake plastic log sat wedged in the rocks. I guess it was supposed to look like something from under the sea, but I don't think there are any lakes or oceans that really have rocks that color. Ollie spent all day long swimming around that small bowl, ducking through the fake log, and then swimming around again. He always swam in the same direction. The only time he changed his course was when Mom dropped a few grains of fish food into the bowl each morning and evening. I'd watch him gobble the food, then poop it out, then swim around and around once again. I felt sorry for him. At least I got to go outside into the store and to school. Ollie just swam in a circle all day. I wondered if fish ever slept, but anytime I woke up in the middle of the night, Ollie was still swimming, his little mouth opening and closing like he was just trying to say something. One day when I was about 7, Ollie jumped out of his bowl. I'd been listening to music on the radio. Mom had finally figured out I liked country western station, and I was in a good mood. The music was sounding orangey and yellowish as I listened, and the faint whiff of lemon seemed to surround me. I felt real mellow as I watched Ollie do this thing round and round in his bowl, but suddenly, for no reason I could figure, Ollie dove down to the bottom of his bowl, rushed to the top, and hurled himself right outside the bowl. He landed on the table. He gasped and flopped, and I'm sure he was surprised he couldn't breathe. His eyes bulged, and his gills on the other side pulsed with effort. I didn't know what to do. He'd die without water. Really fast, so I screamed. Mom was downstairs or maybe outside getting the mail, but she didn't come right away. I screamed louder. I cried. I yelled. I screeched. Ollie continued to flop and gasp, looking more desperate. Ollie needed water. I howled once more, but Mom didn't come running. Where could she be? I knew it had to be something, so I reached over to the table and stretched out my arm. I could just barely touch Ollie's bowl. I figured if I could get the fish wet, at least a little, I might be able to save him. I hooked my fingers on the edge of the fish bowl, and I pulled. Water splashed everywhere. All over the table, the carpet, me, and Ollie. He seemed to flop a little less for a second or two. And I kept wailing. Finally, I heard my mother thundering up the stairs. When she came through the door, she took one look at the mess and the dying goldfish and shouted, Melody, what have you done? Why did you knock over the fish bowl? Don't you know a fish can't live without water? Of course I knew that. I'm not stupid. Why did she think I've been screeching and calling for her? She scurried over to the mess, scooped up Ollie, and gently placed him back in the bowl. Then she ran to the bathroom, and I heard her running water, but I knew it was too late. Either because of the time out of the bowl or because the bathroom water wasn't the right temperature, Ollie didn't survive. Mom came back in and scolded me once more. Your goldfish didn't make it, Melody. I don't get it. Why would you do that to the poor little fish? He was happy in his little world. I wonder if maybe Ollie wasn't so happy after all. Maybe he was sick and tired of that bowl and that log and that circle. Maybe he just couldn't take it anymore. I feel like that sometimes. There's no way I could explain to Mom what had happened. I really had tried to save Ollie's life. I just looked away from Mom. She was angry, and I was too. If she hadn't been so slow, Ollie might have made it. I didn't want her to see me cry. So I'm going to stop right there. Think about that question. How are Melody and Ollie the fish alike in this story? Listen to that line I just read. I wondered if maybe Ollie wasn't so happy after all. Maybe he was sick and tired of that bowl and that log and that circle. Maybe he just couldn't take it anymore. I feel like that sometimes. So be thinking, why does she feel like that? Why are they alike? Okay. She cleaned up the mess with a sigh and left me with my music, an empty spot on my table. The colors had vanished. It was a long time before I was ready for another pet. But on my 8th birthday, my father bought a big box into the house. He seemed to have trouble holding on to it. When he set it on the floor in front of me, out exploded a flash of wriggling gold fun. A puppy, a golden retriever puppy. I shrieked and kicked with joy. A puppy! The clumsy little dog raced around the room, sniffing in every corner. I watched her every move, loving her right away. After exploring every table leg and piece of furniture, the puppy stopped, made sure all of us were watching, and then squatted and peed right there on the carpet. Mom yelled, but only a little. That's when the dog knew she was in charge. She checked out Dad's bare toes, but she stayed away from Mom, who was trying to soak the spot out of the rug with paper towels and that spray stuff she uses in the kitchen. Finally, the puppy circled my wheelchair around and around like she was trying to figure it out. She sniffed it, sniffed my legs and my feet, looked at me for a minute, then jumped right up into my lap like she'd done it a million times. I barely breathed, not wanting to disturb her. Then, wow, 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 she turned around 3 times and made herself comfortable. I think she made a noise like a sigh of satisfaction. I know I did. I stroked her soft back and then head as gently as I was the one who named her. Mom and Dad kept suggesting dumb names like Fuzzy and Coffee, but I knew as soon as I saw her that what her name should be. I pointed to the bowl on the table which held my most favorite candies, butterscotch caramel. They're soft enough to melt in my mouth so I don't have to chew, and oh, are they delicious. You want to call her Candy? Dad asked. I shook my head no gently to the sleeping puppy wouldn't wake up. Caramel? Mom asked. I shook my head once more. Why don't we call her Stinky? Dad suggested with a grin. Mom and I just glared at him. I continued to point at the candy dish. Finally, Mom said, I know. You want to call her Butterscotch. I wanted to shriek, but I forced myself to stay calm. I tried real hard not to do anything that would knock the puppy off my lap. Ugh, I said softly as I continued to stroke the dog's silky fur. I didn't know that anything could be so soft, and she was all mine. It was the best birthday I've ever had. Butterscotch sleeps at the foot of my bed every night. It's like she read the book on what great dogs ought to do. Bark only when a stranger is at the door, never pee or poop in the house. She got over the puppy stuff. And keep Melody happy. Butterscotch doesn't care for me, and Mom made sure my hands were properly positioned so I could rewind and fast forward the film. She didn't notice my seatbelt wasn't fastened, and neither did I. She traveled up and down the stairs doing several loads of laundry. I'm awful messy, and I guess she had to start fixing dinner. The rich aroma of streaming tomato sauce floated up the stairs. Mom knows I love spaghetti. She peeked her head to check on me and said, I'm going to lie down for a couple of minutes, Melody. Are you okay for a few? I nodded and pointed my arm toward the door to tell her to go ahead. My mom was getting good anyway, but most people in the world can quote sections of that movie. No extra brains required, because it's one of the movies that gets played over and over again on cable channels. But I know every single word in it. I know that Dorothy will say before she even opens her mouth, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore, Toto. It makes me smile. I've never been to Kansas or to Oz or anywhere more than a few miles from home. Even though I knew it was coming, when the movie got to the part where the Tin Man does that stiff little dance to the music of If I Only Had a Heart, I cracked up. I laughed so hard I jerked forward in my chair and found myself facing down on the floor. Butterscotch jumped up immediately, stiffing me and making sure I wasn't hurt. I was fine, but I couldn't get back up in my chair. Worse, I was going to miss the part where the Cowardly Lion gets smacked on the nose by Dorothy. I wondered how long Mom's nap would last. I didn't scream like the time Ollie had jumped out of the bowl. I wasn't upset, just a little uncomfortable. I tried to flip over, but I couldn't from the position I landed in. If I could have seen the television from where I'd fallen, I might have been okay on the floor for a little while. Butterscotch makes a great pillow. But Butterscotch went to the closed door and scratched. I could hear her claws ripping at the wood. Dad wouldn't be happy when he saw that. But my mom didn't come. So Butterscotch barked, first a couple of tentative yips, then louder and more urgent. Finally, she jumped up and drew her body against the door, making loud thuds. She'd bark, then thud, bark, thud. Mom couldn't ignore all that racket. I'm sure it was only a few minutes, but it seemed like longer. Mom came to the door looking groggy. Her hair was all messed up. "What's going on in here?" she began. Then she saw me. "Oh, Melody, baby, are you okay?" She ran to me, sat down on the floor, and lifted me onto her lap. She checked everything: my arms, my legs, my back, my face, my scalp, even my tongue. I wanted to tell her I was fine. All she needed to do was put me back in my chair, but she had to do the mom thing and double check. "Butterscotch, you're such a good girl," she said as she patted the dog and hugged me tight. "Doubles on the dog food tonight." I'm sure Butterscotch would have preferred a nice thick bone instead, but she can't talk either. So both my dog and I get what they give us. Mom carefully put me back in my chair and made sure my seatbelt was latched correctly. Butterscotch curled up right in front of me, making sure I guessed that if I slid out again, she'd be there to soften the fall. That dog is amazing. Mom started the video from the beginning, but somehow that yellow brick road had lost some of its magic glow. Nobody really gets wishes granted by the great Oz. As I watched, I wondered if I were blown to Oz with my dog, what would we ask the wizard for? Hmm. Brains? I've got plenty. Courage? Butterscotch is not scared of anything. A heart? We got lots of heart, me and my pup. So what would I ask for? I'd like to sing like the Cowardly Lion and dance like the Tin Man. Neither one of them did those things very well, but that would be enough for me. All right, so I'm gonna stop there. um, we'll start chapter 9 on Monday. Um, I really am sorry about all the technical difficulties we had today. That really stunk, but I appreciate you guys sticking around and continuing to join us, even if it did mean we had to try 3 different times. I now know that we won't be doing this outside and not to take my headphones out in the middle of a story. So let's think about that question I asked. How are Melody and Ollie the fish alike in this story? When Melody described the fish, she talked about how the fish did the same thing every day, the same route every day until got something to eat, and then he ended up jumping out of his bowl. Um, and then also she talked about how she'd look over at him in the middle of the night, and the fish was still swimming, and it looked like he was trying to say something, but obviously couldn't because it was a fish. So why do you think? Why do you think, or how do you think those two were alike, Melody and the fish? Go ahead and put that in the chat. Huh, that's a great answer, Hannah. Hannah said it's like how her teacher played the same annoying music and it happened every day. That's something I hadn't even thought about. That's awesome. That's a great answer. How else? Yeah, good job, Angel. She made the point they both feel like that because they both can't speak. So we know that well, I really don't know if a fish thinks, but I don't really know how that works. But we know that, how do I say what I'm trying to say? The fish looked like it was trying to say something, right? And that's the same with Melody, is she tries to say something, but nobody really understands what she's trying to say. Jonah says that they are similar because they both stuck in their bowl or bodies and cannot move the way they want to. Also, they couldn't talk and express themselves, which would be very frustrating. That's absolutely right. You guys are giving great answers. Yeah, I'm sure the fish would like to be able to get out and swim freely, right? And the same thing with Melody. She would like to get out of her chair and walk around and talk and do a lot of things that she's unable to do. Give a couple more seconds and then we'll get off here. I know I've taken a lot of your guys' time today. Yeah, Addie, my friend from Kentucky, she said that they are alike because they do the same thing every day and they both can't talk or explain their feelings. Yep. I think a lot of people feel like that right now is we're doing the same thing every day because we can't do much outside, but she's absolutely right about that. Angel says she has a question. What's your question, Angel? Good, Maite. Maite says they're both in a bowl and they both can't talk. Good. Okay, so we'll go ahead and end here. Well, we kind of touched on this real quick. It says, "How did Melody feel when she wasn't able to tell her mom what really happened?" Jonah mentioned in his answer how they both couldn't talk and express themselves, which would be frustrating. Abby's saying they are alike because Melody couldn't take it with the school and Ollie couldn't take it with his bowl, and they want to do something new. And Melody and Ollie can't talk, so they can't say what they're trying to say. Um, Right, and I think that plays into the part of the question where I asked, "How did Melody feel when she couldn't explain to her mom what happened?" Um, I think sometimes we do that to others is we don't allow them. I mean, obviously Melody couldn't explain what happened, but I think there's something for us to learn in this and that we need to allow people to explain and listen. We're always so quick in an argument to talk back or give our side of the story or just say, "I know what happened, I don't need to hear it." Right? But I think what we can learn from this, because we can talk, is that we need to listen and be willing to listen to what people have to say and give them a chance to tell their side of the story. Because when we don't give people that opportunity, we're kind of treating them like how Melody feels every day. She can't, what's the point in talking, right? And so we know she felt frustrated by that. And so I encourage you to make sure that we're good listeners and that we allow people to express what they're thinking and feeling. And obviously, there's a big difference in the fact that Melody can't speak and Melody is not like physically is not able to explain herself. But what can we learn from that is we need to give people the chance to speak and we need to make sure that we're good listeners and not make people feel like what's the point in talking. So it's really good to have you guys on here. Um, as far as the Zoom instructions, Angel, I will send your mom a message, okay, so that we can make sure we can get you on there tomorrow. Again, this is your reminder. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., we'll have a Zoom call for all of us to talk. It's really good to see you. I know I've said this a lot. I'm really sorry about the technical difficulties we had today. I know this was really long. We started at 1 o'clock and it's almost 1:50. So this has been a long time. But I appreciate you guys. I miss you guys. I love you guys. Um, please get outside and play today. It's supposed to be so warm and so nice. Do something kind for someone and let's learn from the situation with Melody and her mom and make sure that we give people the chance to talk and we listen. Okay. So I hope you have a great day today and make sure that we're extra kind to others. Bye. Oh, Keller's saying something. They both couldn't take it. Ollie got sick and tired of his bowl. Melody couldn't take school. Yep. Oh, and happy Earth Day. Thank you, Hannah. Yeah, see, it's Earth Day. We definitely need to get outside and celebrate that, right? It's beautiful outside. If only technology and outside would have worked today, it would have been really nice. But happy Earth Day. Love you guys. Have a great day.